Without spooky tales to share at night, what is Halloween? Well, you'll want to watch or re-watch your favorite Halloween movies to see all the witches, vampires, and my favorite, Michael Myers. You'll also need a dose of spooky in these three creepy ghost stories from 3 states in the US. One of New York City's most recognizable and enigmatic structures is the Dakota. That magnificent red brick building, which was constructed in 1884, is located on the southwest corner of Central Park West and looks over the park's extensive greenery. Its elaborate carvings and arching staircase make it an architectural masterpiece. Numerous renowned people have lived in the Dakota, including Lauren Bacall, Judy Garland, and John Lennon. In 1980, John Lennon was tragically assassinated in the southern archway. Some locals claim that his ghost is still active on the property. One even claimed that when he returned home one night, John Lennon's spirit was playing his piano. When Lennon was alive, he claimed that he had witnessed a ghost in the building. He claimed to have witnessed the ghost of a woman sobbing in the corridor numerous times. One of the first apartment buildings in the area, the building was constructed in the 1880s. There have been a lot of residents who lived and died there. In the 1960s, construction workers who worked on the structure claimed they would periodically spot a ghostly person strolling the grounds with the body of a man and the face of a small boy. Some claim that even now they occasionally get a ghostly glimpse of a young girl standing in the lower windows. Frederick Weinstein, a resident, reported that occasionally, when walking down the street, he could see the lights from a chandelier in his apartment through the windows. Well, the only issue was that his apartment did not have any chandeliers. After leaving their apartments, residents returned to find that large furniture and rugs had been reshuffled. A porter at the building claimed that while he was in the basement, a metal bar that was too heavy for him flew through the air at him and crashed at his feet. So it makes sense that this was the ideal setting for the filming of the well-known movie Rosemary's Baby. It was rumored that the movie was cursed, and some of the actors and actresses suffered horribly after the film's distribution. A few months after the film's premiere, Christoph Komeda, the composer who created the film's theme, passed away from a brain injury sustained during a fall. He was only 37 years old. Following the film's debut, producer William Castle experienced a kidney stone attack and was overcome with worry. He would quote lines from the movie while hallucinating in the hospital, such as, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife." He never had a successful film after this. And then there's Roman Polanski's situation. The murders of the Manson family are widely known. The marriage of the film's author, Ira Levin, ended shortly after the film's debut. He also endured abuse because of the book's demonization of religion. However, it is also well known for a more sinister legend, that of the Crying Lady. According to legend, the Crying Lady is the ghost of a woman who formerly resided in the Dakota. She lived in one of the apartments on the top floors and was said to be a beautiful and wealthy woman. She was living in an apartment alone for extended periods of time because her husband was frequently gone on business. She developed severe depression as a result of her growing isolation and loneliness. She threw herself out of her apartment window one day after citing she couldn't handle it any longer, dying on the street below. Her suicide left her husband devastated, and he never entirely recovered. Shortly after her passing, unusual events started to occur in the Dakota. Strange noises, including the sound of wailing, were heard coming from the upper floors, according to the residents. Some reported seeing a woman's spectral form wandering the corridors with her face twisted in sorrow. The Crying Lady's legend spread through time, and one of New York City's most well-known ghost stories was born from her tale. Spend the night in the 1886 built eerily haunted Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. In 1937, Norman Baker, a well-known medical fraudster who thought of himself as a doctor, acquired control of the hotel. He converted the hotel into the Baker Cancer Hospital and declared that he had the cure for the illness, which he certainly did not. The hotel's basement acted as a makeshift mortuary, and patients who passed away under his care were buried there. He was arrested in 1940, and it is claimed that his patients' spirits are still at the hotel. One of the most popular hotels in the South today is the Crescent Hotel. It is regarded as one of the most haunted locations in the Ozarks due to its lengthy and vast history. Both employees and visitors have stories to share about several spirits who are allegedly still present at the old hotel. The staff has given a red-haired Irish stonemason they frequently see the moniker Michael. Michael allegedly served as one of the first masons who built the hotel in 1885, but as he was working on the roof, he lost his balance, plummeted to the floor of the second level, and died. This level is now home to the hotel's room 218, which is thought to be the most haunted guest room. Michael is a mischievous spirit that frequently makes loud, banging noises on the walls, likes to play tricks with the lights, doors, and TVs. Others have heard cries that sounded like a man was falling through the ceiling and seen hands emerge from the bathroom mirror. Still more visitors have reported being shaken during the night, and once a tourist claimed to have seen blood smeared on the room's walls as they fled screaming. The ghost of a nurse in all white can be seen pushing a gurney on the third floor of the former Baker's Cancer Hospital. The ghostly spirit can only be seen after 11 p.m., when they used to take the deceased out of the cancer hospital. When she reaches the end of the hallway, the ghostly spirit just disappears. Others who have not seen the ghost have heard noises that resemble a gurney rolling down the hallway, including the squeaks and rattles. This space served as the morgue in the 1930s, and it still has Dr. Baker's old autopsy table and walk-in freezer. The hotel maintenance man once saw all the washers and dryers mysteriously turning on by themselves in the middle of the night in the laundry room, which is also on the third floor. The greedy Dr. Baker ghost has also been spotted at the bottom of the first floor stairwell and in the former recreation room in the basement. The ghost resembles old images of the infamous Quack, wearing a purple shirt and white linen suit, and would appear a little bewildered. The old switchboard was still in use for a while in the hotel, but ultimately shut down after it kept receiving calls from the otherwise empty basement. Here in the basement, Dr. Baker's unfortunate victims frequently believed in his miraculous treatments and gave him their life savings as payment for the therapy. Another relic from these previous hospital days is a spectral woman who goes by the name of Theodora. Theodora, who is frequently observed by housekeepers in room 419, politely introduces herself as a cancer sufferer before disappearing without a trace. A man in traditional Victorian attire, complete with a top hat, has frequently been seen in the lobby sitting at the bar at the bottom of the stairs. Described as distinguished looking with a mustache and beard, many have claimed to entice him into a conversation. However, he sits quietly and never responds before he suddenly disappears. Another area of the hotel, rumored to be home to frequent paranormal activity, is the Crystal Dining Room. Other ghosts dressed in Victorian attire have frequently been seen in this area. Many people have witnessed groups of 1890s dancers whirling around the room in full costume in the early morning hours. According to some reports, a man from the 19th century has been spotted sitting at a table close to the windows. He replies to anyone who approaches him. He says, "I saw the most beautiful woman here last night, and I'm waiting for her to return." The former waitress claimed to have seen a Victorian wedding and groom in the large mirror in the dining room. Before the couple vanished, the bride's husband is said to have made eye contact with her. It's reported that the Victorian ghosts that linger in the dining room are particularly playful. The Christmas tree and all of its packages were once discovered mysteriously moved to the other side of the room during the holiday season. All of the seats have been turned around to face or circle the moved tree. On another occasion, the dining room was in immaculate order when the crew arrived in the morning, but there were menus all over the place. In the kitchen off the dining room, a ghostly child has been seen bouncing around, and occasionally pots and pans are rumored to fly off the hooks on their own. A young woman who previously attended the Crescent College and Conservatory for Young Women, which was open from 1908 until 1924, is another ghost that is frequently seen. The story goes that the young girl was either pushed or jumped to her death from a balcony. Today, visitors claim to hear the screams as she falls. Other apparitions have been sighted in room 202 and room 424, as well as a ghostly waiter carrying a tray of butter in the hallways. Let me know in the comments if this is a hotel you would stay at, especially during the Halloween season. Georgia certainly has a creepy side. It's terribly spooky. The historic city of Savannah is so haunted that its restless ghost will follow you home. Then there's Lake Lanier, the site of countless terrible deaths throughout the years, as well as the famed Blood Lady ghost. While Atlanta has troubling a past of its own, they aren't the only troubled areas in the state either. Surtsey is a small town that is also very spooky. The terrifying tale starts in the 1800s with the Surrey family and continues up to the present day with the famous Surrey spooklight. The Surrey family owned a farm in the 1800s before the town was founded. Before many people moved to the area and before any businesses were built, their property already existed. The Surreys were a typical family, but they had also amassed substantial money relative to other less fortunate neighbors. In a different city, Mr. Surrey also owned another house. According to all reports, the Surrey family appeared to be very comfortable in their lovely farmhouse, at least temporarily. But something happened that completely shook the whole family. Something wicked came knocking at the door. Or maybe it was there all along. An unexpected turn of events occurred at the beloved Surrey home. One day, strange events started occurring. Windows would suddenly slam shut before suddenly flying open by unseen hands. Several members of the family saw the windows open and shut on their own. Then, with no one nearby, doors slammed shut. Additionally, there were terrible drafts which appeared to come out of nowhere. Although the family was shaken, they refused to be driven from their lovely house and property by something so little as cold air and slamming windows. However, these incidents paled in comparison to the horrors that lay ahead. The Surrey family started to experience hauntings. They began to think that perhaps it wasn't only the house, but also them. Things flew off the shelf. Every time the old clock struck 13, the hands would start to spin erratically. When it came time to fetch water or check on the horses at night, the Surrey kids wouldn't leave the house. They reported that in the middle of the night, numerous pairs of glowing red eyes surrounded them. Their dinners were forcibly tossed into their laps each time they sat down to eat as a family. The Surrey house seemed to be haunted by dozens of ghosts. These ghosts were also committed to pestering the family, or maybe it was just one particularly strong and enraged spirit. The persistent torment prevented the family from eating and caused them to lose sleep. One version claims that whenever the family attempted to eat a meal, the ghosts would twist their forks. Some thought the Surrey family made up what appeared to be an exaggerated ghost story in order to gain attention, but many people saw the strange haunting of the Surrey household. People started wondering if their house was on a ley line or another form of strong magnetic grid. The Surrey haunting soon became an attraction for tourists. Visitors to the infamous mansion included clerics, scientists, and mediums. It was widely thought by the villagers that Mr. Surrey was in league with the devil, which would account for both the ghost and the family's fortune. The Surrey family, according to a visiting psychic medium, possessed extra sensory perception. The spirits became enraged since the family did acknowledge their abilities. The ghost of the Surrey grew more hostile over time. They specifically targeted the young girl, yanking her out of bed, twisting her blankets, and pulling her hair, continuously tormenting her. She was weak, feeble, and worn out. How can this family endure a haunting that prevented them from eating, sleeping, and maintaining their sanity? The Surrey family made the decision to move at last. The final straw was when the Surrey boy was struck by an andiron that had raised itself from the fireplace. The youngster was left on the floor, bleeding and screaming as it floated back to the fireplace. The Surrey family continued to encounter hauntings even after they relocated, none worse than what they experienced on the farm, though. Even though the farmhouse had been abandoned for several years, locals still went there. Train rides brought attracted ghost hunters to the dilapidated property. Eventually, in 1925, the eerie Surrey home caught fire. There are many theories as to what caused the hauntings, but will we ever know the truth? Surprisingly, there were other hauntings in the area besides the well-known Surrey ghosts. The Surrey spooklight is another strange phenomenon. On the Surrey train tracks, a yellow ball of light is observed circling overhead. Since the early 1900s, people have noticed this eerie light, and they do so even now. Some paranormal researchers and bored adolescents who are looking for the iconic light have actually seen it. People claim that you cannot approach the spook light once you have seen it because it vanishes almost instantly, kind of like it was running away or hiding. There are numerous theories as to what triggers the spook light. Is it natural gas accumulating above ground, or possibly the light left behind by a ghost train that wrecked or derailed about a century ago? Some people even compare this Surrey spook light to the European folklore will-o'-the-wisp or jack-o'-lanterns. These particular lights have ties to fairies and or are recently deceased. It's fascinating when we examine this particular paranormal occurrence more closely. We must first recognize that it occurs on a train track. For a number of reasons, hauntings are infamously known to occur near train tracks. One, because the hauntings frequently result from horrible accidents that have happened on them. Additionally, train tracks are liminal spaces since their location is between two places. Additionally, it is well recognized that liminal areas serve as a door or portal to the spirit realm and other dimensions in general. So tell me, do you plan on visiting any of these locations anytime soon? I wouldn't mind visiting the Dakota in New York City or the Crescent Hotel in Arkansas. They sound creepy, but I think it could be a lot of fun to stay there around Halloween to try to catch some paranormal sightings. Let me know in the comments.